The sun cast long shadows across Jetavana Grove, where the Buddha sat beneath an ancient tree, radiating calmness. Disciples encircled him, their robes fluttering gently in the breeze, faces marked with reverence and curiosity. A restless villager approached, his steps purposeful, his expression ablaze with disdain and contempt. He stopped abruptly before the Buddha, arms crossed, his voice sharp and accusatory. "Gautama," the man began, venom coloring his words, "your teachings mislead, offering nothing but false promises and empty hopes." The disciples stiffened, exchanging uneasy glances, their peaceful gathering interrupted by this unexpected assault. Monks gathered, each faction hoping for his judgment in their favor. The Buddha sat under the great sala tree, his presence calm yet powerful. The Buddha, however, raised a hand, a silent yet powerful gesture, commanding the space with tranquility. "Ananda," the Buddha said, his tone gentle yet firm, "sit, and let wisdom guide our response, not anger or impulse." The Buddha reached for a clay cup resting beside him. He filled it to the brim with water, then continued pouring. The water overflowed, drenching the ground beneath the cup. Anand gasped, "It remains with the giver." "I suppose," the man responded, his tone cautious yet defiant. "Indeed," the Buddha replied, his voice imbued with clarity. "When you hurl insults, and I do not accept them, to whom do they belong?" A hush fell over the gathering, the Buddha's words slicing through the tension like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. The man faltered, his lips parting as if to respond. Yet no words came, the weight of understanding pressing upon him. The disciples observed silently, their earlier tension replaced by a profound stillness, reflecting the wisdom imparted. The Buddha continued, his gaze now encompassing the entire assembly. "Rejection, whether by words or actions, reflects not upon the rejected but upon the one who rejects." The villagers exchanged murmurs, the lesson rippling through the crowd, its simplicity and depth resonating deeply. Ananda, humbled yet eager to internalize the teaching, bowed his head, feeling both inspired and chastened. "Blessed One," he said, his voice tinged with reverence, "you have turned an insult into a moment of profound teaching." The Buddha smiled gently, his presence embodying the serenity he sought to instill in others. "Ananda," he said, "anger is not extinguished by anger, but by understanding. As darkness is dispelled by light, begin by recognizing your assumptions. To know truly, one must first acknowledge the limits of their understanding." The disciples bowed in unison, a gesture of deep respect for the lesson imparted, their hearts lighter and minds clearer. The Buddha, his role as teacher fulfilled for the moment, closed his eyes and returned to meditation, his stillness inspiring peace. The man, humbled by this encounter, departed the grove, his steps slower, his heart subtly altered by the experience. The villagers lingered, some whispering, others deeply lost in thought, the Buddha's words resonating within their minds like ripples on water. "It rises from the mud, unstained, open to the light." Anand followed the Buddha's gaze. "Master, the lotus is pure, despite its surroundings. What lesson lies hidden in its growth?" "Like the lotus," the Buddha replied, "you must rise above distractions." The disciples carried their alms bowls, their steps steady, their presence serene amidst the chaos. A wealthy merchant stood at his grand doorway, observing the approaching group with a skeptical gaze and furrowed brows. "Does this leaf claim permanence? It falls, yet the tree remains." Anand pondered the leaf, its fragile veins exposed to the air. "You ask for alms," the merchant declared, his voice cold, "yet you contribute nothing to those who toil for their sustenance." The disciples froze, their alms bowls empty, the merchant's words filling the space with unspoken tension and a trace of contempt. To learn, You must release attachment and open yourself to the flow of the present. Anand knelt on the earth, feeling its cool touch. Master, I will empty my cup and let wisdom pour freely into me. The Buddha smiled once more, his eyes shining with compassion. Remember, Anand, true growth begins where certainty ends. For hours, Anand listened as the Buddha spoke. Each word echoed deeply, illuminating the path toward openness and humility. The sun dipped below the horizon as the Buddha concluded. Anand sat silently, the cup of his mind now ready to hold wisdom. Another day, another moment beneath the Bodhi tree. As the Buddha sat amidst the murmurs of his gathered disciples, the merchant, though still resistant, could not entirely ignore the ripple of understanding that began to stir within him. The Buddha then turned to the disciples and said, "Rejection, like an empty bowl, holds no weight unless we choose to fill it with our expectations and discontent." One disciple, a young monk named Suman, stepped forward hesitantly, seeking clarity. "Blessed One," he asked, his voice tinged with curiosity and doubt, "how do we remain untroubled when faced with such rejection?" The Buddha looked at Suman with kindness and replied, "Suman, the empty bowl teaches us that our peace lies not in others' actions but in our own hearts." The young monk nodded, the lesson etching itself into his thoughts like a seed planted in fertile soil. The merchant, watching this exchange, found himself unexpectedly moved by the simplicity and depth of the Buddha's words. Yet his pride held him back, his reluctance to acknowledge the truth battling with the stirring of newfound understanding. The Buddha, sensing the inner turmoil, spoke directly to the merchant once more. The Buddha placed the stone on the ground, motioning toward the distant hills where the river twisted freely through its course. The river shapes all it touches, yet it carries nothing. He glanced at the empty alms bowl, its simplicity stark against his own opulence, and felt a pang of introspection. The villagers who had gathered watched silently, their collective anticipation palpable as they witnessed the subtle shift in the merchant's demeanor. The Buddha, seeing the momentary opening, continued, "Even the smallest act of kindness, like a drop of water, can ripple outward, touching lives beyond its origin." The merchant exhaled deeply, his gaze lingering on the alms bowl, his thoughts wrestling with the implications of the Buddha's teaching. Finally, he stepped back and said, "I will think on your words. Gautama, perhaps there is more to giving than I have understood." The Buddha inclined his head in gratitude and replied, "May you find clarity, good sir, for wisdom blooms where the heart is open to growth." The disciples and villagers observed in silence as the merchant retreated into his grand home, his steps slower, his posture less rigid. "You see, Anand, the meaning did not vanish. The sand remains, ready to form new shapes that hold their own lessons." Ananda, walking close to the Buddha, spoke quietly, his voice filled with reverence. "Blessed One," he said, "your words today were like rain on parched earth, nourishing even the hearts resistant to growth." The Buddha smiled gently and replied, "Ananda, wisdom shared is like a lamp that lights many flames without losing its own light." The town buzzed with murmurs of the encounter long after the monks had departed, the Buddha's teachings spreading through the minds and hearts of those who heard them. "Your Majesties, conflicts arise even among the wise," he began. "But wisdom lies in finding resolution through understanding, not dominance." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the town in hues of amber and gold, the monks returned to Jetavana Grove. They sat in quiet reflection, the teachings of the day imprinted on their hearts like the fading warmth of the evening sun. The Buddha, seated beneath the tree, closed his eyes, his stillness a reminder of the peace that comes from transcending rejection and embracing wisdom. Another day, the sun rose gently over Jetavana Grove, casting golden light across the tranquil monastery and its peaceful surroundings. The Buddha sat by the pond, gazing at the vibrant lotus flowers blooming amidst the still, murky waters. Disciples gathered quietly, their robes rustling softly, each carrying questions in their hearts about rejection and resilience. A young monk named Rahula approached, his steps hesitant, his expression reflecting both eagerness and doubt about his place on the path. "Blessed One," Rahula began, bowing low before the Buddha, "how does one rise above the pain of constant rejection and hardship?" The Buddha turned his calm gaze toward Rahula, his eyes filled with warmth, his voice steady and measured. The Buddha reached into the water, scooping a handful, letting it drip through his fingers, vanishing into the stream below. Water does not cling, Anand, and compassion must walk hand in hand with discernment. Blind compassion may lead to unintended harm. Life, the Buddha said, is like this pond, filled with murkiness and obstacles, yet offering the conditions for growth and beauty. Rahula nodded slowly, his mind beginning to grasp the metaphor, though questions still lingered within his heart. "Blessed One," Rahula asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty, "what if the murkiness becomes overwhelming, preventing one from rising or blooming?" The Buddha smiled gently, his demeanor unshaken, and replied, "Rahula, even when the waters darken, the lotus seeks the light above." He paused, allowing the words to settle, the silence around them growing profound, like a shared breath of understanding. Each rejection, the Buddha explained, is but a gust of wind. It may ripple the surface, but it cannot submerge the lotus. The disciples exchanged glances, their expressions reflecting the depth of the teaching, its simplicity illuminating their own struggles. "Thank you, Master," Anand said, bowing deeply, his heart embracing the clarity he had sought so earnestly. The Buddha stepped away, his robes flowing like the river itself, a timeless reminder of wisdom in movement. A merchant from a nearby town arrived, his face weary, his shoulders heavy with the burdens of failure and loss. He bowed before the Buddha, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Blessed One, I am rejected everywhere. My business fails. My family sees me as unworthy." The disciples listened silently, their attention focused on the man, their hearts moved by his vulnerability and despair. The Buddha gestured for the man to sit and said, "Good sir, do you see this pond and the lotus blooming within it?" The merchant looked toward the pond, his tired eyes softening as he observed the serene beauty of the flowers swaying gently. As Anand sat by the river one evening, he found himself smiling, knowing that the journey had only just begun. The lessons of the sand, the river, and the seed lived within him, guiding his path with quiet clarity. Likewise, the Buddha continued, "You must not allow rejection or failure to dictate your worth or extinguish your inner light." The disciples nodded, the lesson reaffirming their understanding of resilience. Their own struggles mirrored in the merchant's plight. Rejection, the Buddha said, offers an opportunity to learn humility, to grow patience, and to deepen compassion for oneself and others. The merchant exhaled deeply, his shoulders relaxing, a glimmer of hope igniting within him as he absorbed the Buddha's wisdom. Rahula, emboldened by the lesson, turned to the Buddha and asked, "Blessed One, how do we transform rejection into strength, like the lotus rising above mud?" The Buddha smiled, his gaze resting on Rahula, his voice steady as he replied, "By choosing not to dwell in anger or despair." He continued, "Instead, nurture your heart with compassion, patience, and the understanding that rejection is but a passing shadow." The merchant bowed low, his voice filled with newfound determination as he said, "Blessed One, your words have given me hope. I will try again." The Buddha inclined his head, his serene expression radiating warmth, and replied, May your efforts bloom like the lotus. Untainted and resilient, forced to work together, they found safety in uniting their efforts. The tale drew a faint smile from both the king and queen, their earlier tension easing. Dear ones, he said, remember that the world will often challenge you. Yet these challenges are not obstacles but opportunities. He gestured to the lotus, its petals open wide, its beauty unblemished by its surroundings, and said, be like the lotus, and rise above. Anand watched the seed lying on the earth, feeling its symbolic presence resonate deeply, yet still wrestling with uncertainties. But, Master, what if the seed fails to grow? What if circumstances prevent it from reaching its full potential? The Buddha reached for the seed, holding it once more, his expression unwavering in its calmness and quiet certainty. The Buddha smiled, his eyes closing as he entered meditation, the stillness of his presence a balm for the hearts around him. As the day progressed, the disciples carried the lesson within them, each step a testament to their commitment to rise above. He paused, letting silence envelop the moment. Now, wish for all of them to be well and happy, regardless of your feelings. The meditation stretched into stillness, each word a seed planted in fertile soil. After the meditation, the Buddha spoke again. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.